Shalom, all praise to Yahweh Bashim Al Shah, double line to Apostle GMS. This is Anawa'ala coming at you in the video. And basically, I want to do this video, short video, on wisdom crieth without and uttereth a voice in the streets. So let's get right to it. Proverbs 1 and 20. Wisdom crieth without, she uttereth her voice in the streets. So wisdom uttereth her voice in the streets. She crieth in the chief place of concourse. Look at that word concourse.
Strong's H.
Head, top, summit, upper part, chief. Well, I know the word Ra'ash means head. So doesn't really give us much here. This is the definition of the word concourse. From Oxford language, the large open area inside or in front of a public building, as an airport or train station. So this is a crowd or assembly of people. So wisdom is supposed to be in a chief place of concourse, in a large open area inside or in front of a public building. So you're supposed to be out there. It's a chief place of concourse. Chief. Hold on. See, that's why that word here, that word is Ra'ash for chief. It's not the word concourse. It's concourse. See, the word concourse only appears twice in the Bible, but that's why the word is Ra'ash, because Ra'ash means head, like in the beginning, Bara'ashath in Hebrew. So wisdom is supposed to be in the chief place of concourse, in a public place, in the open, in a crowd of people. She crieth in the chief place of concourse, in the openings of the gates, in the city she uttered her word, saying. There's more I can get to on that, but that's the point. So you're supposed to be out there in public, you're supposed to be out there on the streets. Yeah, it's cool to do videos. Now, I want to say it's cool to do videos. Yes, doing videos is a part of the work. That's a part of the work. But you got to be out there on the streets. Because the streets, that's that ultimate test. A person could sit in the house all day and just do videos. But if you're not going out there in the streets, what you really doing? You used to have guys like that years ago in YouTube. They used to be in the house doing videos. And they would never go out on the streets and teach. And they'd be talking crap about us. So you gotta be out there in the streets, man. You gotta be out there in the streets. But when you come out there in the streets, you sacrificing to do what you want to do. Because you could sit in your car, sit in your house, park, do a 10, 15, 20, 30-minute video about whatever topic it is you're choosing to do a video on, right? And then that's it. You ain't really sacrificed anything. You just sat in your house, 20-minute video. Okay, now I can go on about my day. See, it's the coming out part that a lot of guys got issues with. Trust and believe. There's a lot of guys on YouTube teaching stuff about the Bible that call themselves Israelites. But trust me, there's more of them out there that aren't on the streets than that actually are on the streets. And those are the guys that's not really too sure of themselves. And they call themselves prophets. Proverbs 20 verse 4. The sluggard will not plow by reason of the cold. Now, a sluggard is a person that's lazy. They're not going to plow by reason of the cold. So they're not going to plow their field because it's the reason of the cold. But if you don't plow because you feel like it's cold out, how are you going to be able to sow that seed, to scatter that seed and plant it? Therefore shall he beg and harvest and have nothing. And when it's come time to harvest, a time to gather, to reap what was sown in the field that you plowed, there shall he beg and harvest and have nothing. You aren't going to have anything. You're not going to be able to reap the benefits, reap the rewards of your work. And because why? The person had an excuse, but it's to not go and plow because it was too cold. So you got guys out there that's like that. They in the house, not coming out. They may do videos, may not do videos. Some of these guys really think they're actually in the truth. They really think they're in the camp. These guys not praying, not fasting, they're getting weak. And through the spirit of Yahweh Shemel Shah, you can see when it happens. Maybe not all of the time, but oftentimes you can see when it happens, man. It's because the Most High didn't want them. You know what I mean? 2 Peter 3:3. Knowing this first, that they shall come in the last days scoffers. Now a scoffer is a person that's speaking against this word, making light of it, making mockery of it, looking at this word as a source of amusement. Knowing this first, that they shall come in the last days scoffers, walking after their own lust. You're gonna have people out there walking after their own lust and saying, where is the promise of his coming? So they're going to say, well, where's the promise of his coming? In other words, where's the proof? Where's the sign of the second coming of Yahweh Shah, the one who wrote ignorantly called Jesus Christ? In other words, they may say this openly, or they may say this inwardly in their hearts, meaning in their minds. But that's a sign of doubt. That's doubt that's within them. And you're going to have guys like that. The guy that might be reading right next to you, that might be reading for you. The guy you might be reading for. The guy that might be holding post. The guy that might be holding the camera. Who knows? Who knows? You're going to have guys that's like that. Inwardly, they're going to be, what's the promise of his coming? Like, what are the signs? What's the proof? These guys are getting weak. They don't really want to be out there no more. They fighting just to come out. If this thing is a chore, if the truth is a chore, then it's just not for you. It's really just what it is. If the thing is a chore, it's not for you. If you gotta force yourself to do it, it's not for you. It's really not for you, man. It's not for you. If you gotta force yourself to do it, because through the spirit of Yahweh Shemel Shah, you really don't want it, because the Most High haven't given you that spirit. So you gotta always pray to the Most High to increase your faith and don't let you go weak. When you see a guy that ain't in the camp no more, you see the people out there in the world that's bugged out. You gotta thank Yahweh Shemel Shah for having mercy on you and giving you the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding. You're gonna have guys that's gonna get the truth and then it's gonna fall right out. Trust me. They're gonna be in this thing for years and then it's gonna leave. Like, I'm getting tired of this. And these guys gonna get emotional about certain things. This brother don't be calling me. Brothers don't be calling me like that and this, that, and third. Listen, people ain't calling people brothers' phones just to shoot the breeze with them. They ain't calling phones like that. If you getting weak because of something like that, I'm not saying that's happening. I'm using that has happened. I'm not saying that. I'm using it as an example. You got guys that are gonna fall out for petty reasons, man. Just out of being emotional. Trust me, when these guys fall out and they get kicked out, they got regret about certain things. But let the emotion get the best of them. But the Most High wanted that to happen. For since the fall and saying, where is the promise of his covenant? For since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation. And that's what they're saying. Since the fathers fell asleep, all things continue as they were from the beginning of the creation. In other words, since our ancestors died, everything just continues the way it was from the beginning. In other words, this world isn't going anywhere. It's not going nowhere. Well, what's the promise of this? They all dead. That was thousands of years ago. Ain't nothing gonna happen. See? And saying, already. For this they willingly are ignorant of, that by the word of the heavens word of the Most High, the heavens were of old, and the earth sitting out of the water, in the water. I can go into that, but that's a whole other topic. But it says that they're willingly ignorant of these things, and that's exactly what it is. They're willingly ignorant. You got the word ignorant.
Strong's G 2990. Lantano.
To be hidden from one, secretly, unawares, without knowing. So for this they are willingly or purposely unaware, without knowing. Because the Most High blocked their mind for them to get it. The Most High blocked their mind. It's not about who we like, it's about who Yahweh Shemel Shah like. That's nothing you gotta understand. Yeah, this brother might be a cool brother, he might be cool, but it ain't about who you cool with. It ain't about how many brothers you hung out with. It's not about how many brothers you hung out with or who house you went to. That don't mean nothing. That don't mean nothing. You know how I know this? Through the spirit of Habashim Shah? I seen a lot of guys come in, a lot of guys go. And there was guys the other brothers other guys was cool with. And them guys got, bugged out over that. I mean, don't get me wrong. If you're cool with a brother, he been in the camp for years, he fall out. I mean, you still met in the flesh. You could be upset at the brother gone, but you're like, hey, well, it's will of the Most High. You know what I'm saying? You might be like, yeah, he's a cool brother, but it ain't about who we like, it's about who the Most High like. And that person was excommunicated, was kicked out through the spirit for a reason. And that's sort of other brothers in the camp won't get caught up in that person's weaknesses, that person's lack of faith that contaminate the camp, so to speak. Scripture say if the eye be evil, cut it out, right? Because if you don't cut that person out, it could affect the whole body, which is the church. If that person that's evil, that's off, don't get cut out, it could spread. So with that, I'm going to close. That's why guys get kicked out. So with that, I'm going to close. And I'm not talking about, I'm just, speaking through the spirit. You know what I'm saying? Shalom. I'm going to close on that. Shalom, more praise. How about Shemel Shah, double I, C, powers, GMS. All your brothers learns with the Shalom.